And we are live. Hello and welcome to Developer Insights. I'm David.
And I'm Justin.
And together we are the leads on game development and design here at Codename.
Well, not only that, we also founded Codename, too.
That's true. We're going to be your hosts for this episode and, of course, for every episode.
Because when we're not here, the show doesn't happen.
That has, in fact, remained true for how many?
Well, today is our 119th episode, Dave.
Ooh, and I know what the people want to know. Is 119 prime?
You know what? I knew you would ask this, not just because we wrote the script ahead of time, but for other reasons. So I checked before the show, and no, 119 is not prime.
Well, there we go. 119, not...
It's actually semi-prime, which is a product of two prime numbers, 7 and 19.
All right. Well, there we go. Then it's 119 is semi...
It's also the sum of 5 consecutive prime numbers, 17, 19, 23, 29, and 31.
Okay.
And it's the smallest composite number that is one less than a factorial, because 120 is 5 factorial.
That's pretty obscure, though.
If you need emergency services in South Korea, you dial 119.
Okay, I think we've beaten this horse.
No, it's the default port for unencrypted NNTP connections.
Okay. You can just stop. Like, I get it. You can read Wikipedia.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Anyway, today we are here to answer development and design questions about Idle Champions.
You don't say. Anyway, if you don't ask any questions, you may have to suffer through Justin's one-man reenactment of, what do we got today? Star Trek The Next Generation Season 5 episode of The First Duty. The First Duty.
Yes, with special guest star Wesley Crusher.
Is he a guest star? Well, I mean, is it really a one-man show if you have a guest star?
Is it really a one-man show if you never actually do a one-man show?
Fair enough. Okay. One day you're going to have to do one.
Someday.
Anyway, as always, we have pulled some questions from the previous... You know, that is actually a really obscure episode to do. Like, what, where, why?
Well, you know, it seemed pretty relevant to me.
Oh, I get it. I didn't get it, but now I do. It's episode 119.
Spoilers.
Oh. All right, moving on. Let's see. If I were to go to the correct document, I could show some questions that we've pulled forward from the previous show and give an update on items that we flagged to get looked at by the dev team. And I do have albeit not the longest list in the world, but a list of items that have started to be addressed. Well, these ones have been addressed, but the list itself has started to be addressed, which is perfect because that means that when we said that development time has been freed up, it means that we weren't pulling your leg. It's true. All right, so starting at the top, I do have fixes and new features that I think Peter said a couple of these have gone out, but most of them are queued up to go out in the next build. Starting with the legendary screen, having the show legendaries level checkbox save. Remembering the state of save feats with formation tick box, which is going to be stored locally. Removing the seasons hotkey, obviously that shouldn't be there anymore. Changing the hotkey label on the quest log to quest tracker, because it is not a quest log, it is in fact the quest tracker. Adding the hotkey for trials to the hotkey list. We added gender to the console character sheet. It was simply just not there. And we have fixed the issue with the lower UI, on the bottom UI, when a stream announcement pops up, you can actually lower or raise the bottom UI. There's a little button, a little obscure button there that you may or may not know about for hiding the bottom UI if you want to take a screenshot or something like that. It was conflicting with the stream announcement, and that is also fixed. I do have a fairly long list of in-progress items, and I'm not going to read it out on stream today because we're still going through and updating that, but hopefully I'll have at least another set of 6 or more items like this week, next week, because there's quite a few items on there that aren't too difficult to get through, but they just have to have someone's time focused on them. So,
indeed.
It's good progress, good start. I feel better about having something rather than nothing from the previous few episodes.
Yeah.
And on that, let's get into questions that were left over from last week.
Indeed.
First question out the gate, or I guess not out the gate. First question from last week you brought forward is from a Thunder Remix. asking, if we complete a tier in events for a champion that hasn't been reworked yet, then do we still get the rewards if and when they get reworked?
Yeah, this is a good question. I
that's
actually
a good
saw this question a bunch of times in last week's show, just after the point at which we got to, and the answer, we haven't coded it yet, but the way I want this to work is that yes, once the champion got reworked, you would just get the rewards. Obviously, a reworked champion would be automatically unlocked for you in the event, so there's not really much difference between that and getting the rewards. But yeah, you would get the rewards for any champions that got reworked if you already made it to tier 3 or tier 4. That's the plan.
Makes sense. I can see how people would be concerned about that one.
Yeah, otherwise there'd be, if you already finished all of tier 4, there'd be no way to like trigger that to try and get the rewards again.
You have like a reset champion and they have to do them all again. That would be maybe not
OG17 is adding on there. If the rework changes the variant, guessing you still need to redo them. It probably wouldn't work that way. We'd probably reuse the variant ID. So if we changed a variant and you'd completed it previously, we probably wouldn't force you to redo it. I think the juice wouldn't be worth the squeeze there, or on the whatever the analogy is.
The figure of speech. Yeah. I mean, I guess that does raise a question then, though, if variants were reworked to the point where people wanted to play them. All right, we'll burn that bridge when we get there. Next question is from Phoenixian Ultimatum, asking, is Nerds being reshuffled when swapping between parties, despite no roaming familiars intended, or is that a bug?
I'm going to guess that's probably just a bug. It's probably just something that doesn't get saved between, like, in the data anywhere. And so I imagine you'd probably have the same thing if you like closed and restarted the game. Otherwise, it'd be an even more obscure bug. So
reshuffled when swapping between parties.
Yeah, I imagine when you go back to the new party, it just kind of, or when you go back to that party again, it just reapplies all of the upgrades, which would reapply the ultimate, which would cause a shuffle. Probably, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. It might be something very specific to the Nerds and how it was implemented, but we can look into that. Let's see if we can save that data somewhere.
All right. Next question. This one is from Unos Draconis, asking, would it be possible to get a studio tour video?
It's funny. So this is a question from last week, but I didn't actually see it last week when we were doing the show. But I was actually thinking about this earlier this week, and how it'd be a cool thing, actually just last night, it'd be a cool thing to do as like an Extra Life segment. Just like go around with a GoPro on your head. Just like, here's the bathroom, here's the kitchen, here's our shelf of D&D books.
Bathroom.
Well, everyone wants to know where the bathroom is. It's like whenever you go into a new place, the first thing you want to know is where's the bathroom, in case I need to like...
Oh, you don't look for the exits?
No, well,
in case you have to,
I'm not a super international super spy.
Okay.
I'm just a regular guy who sometimes has to poop.
I see. So the bathroom, not the exits. Okay. Actually, it's funny that you would say that for Extra Life, because it has, I think almost every year at Extra Life, it's occurred to me that that would be something that people might like to see as part of a segment, or as just sort of like an interlude. And it's never been something that I've ended up having enough time to sort of add in, because it always felt like a bit of a bonus.
Yeah.
One of the things that actually we picked up last year that we used in a couple of segments is a wireless HDMI transmitter that we hooked up to an actual like proper camera.
Yeah.
Then we were using that for, I think we used it in the Cactus stream, and I think it was used in Sean's, they played a board game, I can't remember what it was, but they were using it to actually like get close-ups on the game cards and that sort of thing.
Cool.
We have tested it here at the office, and it will go from one side of the office to the other and not lose connection.
That's perfect.
The only challenge, I think, was that there were a few people who were hesitant to be on camera.
Yes, we'd have to make sure that we have a safe zone for people to go to if they don't want to be on camera.
Hold up a book.
Just shove them all into Dylan's office.
Anyway, I do like the idea.
Yeah.
All right. Next question is... Sorry. Just guessing Justin is not the fire marshal at CNE.
Dave seems safer. Yeah.
You know, I'm just going to stop for a second. Speaking of fire marshal, there was a point where the fire marshal did come to, like, they come every couple of years and check
they come
things.
to check our extinguishers and whatnot.
One of them came in and they were looking through, and you were in the bathroom, of all things.
Of course.
And they didn't know or knock, and the guy literally opened up the door right in there where you were trying.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, he left in a hurry after that.
Hello, officer.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
Fire extinguisher's not in here, sorry. Anyway.
Now for our next question about bathrooms.
Last question left over from last week is from Super Collins. And they would like to know, how did you decide which events would be cut when you were creating the new lineup for Events 2.0?
That's a good question. And it was a combination of things. A couple of us kind of looked at which events, and we kind of proposed which ones to be cut. For me personally, I was looking at events that were maybe just a little bit, ones that were less kind of seasonal, ones that weren't kind of about a specific kind of identifiable part of the year. So like we wanted to keep Simrel, and we wanted to keep Liar's Night, and the Festival of Fools in April. I wanted to keep that one, though of course we ran it in March this year just to be confusing. And then some of the events have like really cool bosses that I wanted to keep. Like I wanted to keep Fleet's Wake with the Kraken, and I wanted to keep some of the other really cool bosses. And then it got down to there were I think 7 or 8 kind of events that I was a little bit on the fence about which ones we would keep and which ones we wouldn't. I know we had like both midsummer and midwinter, and I was like, we don't need 2 mid-blank events, so I think we got rid of one of those. Just really petty reasons at that point.
You got 2 events, you rolled for each of them, whoever rolled lowest, that's it, it's gone.
There was a little bit of just kind of like, we've got 2 events for August here, we need to keep one of them, we need one of them to go, and so yeah, it was kind of a bit of a coin flip at a certain point there. But yeah, the seasonality of them and sort of ones that kind of tied to real world events or real in-world events were ones that we wanted to try and keep primarily. And then the other ones were, a little bit of coin flip, a little bit of I prefer this boss to that boss, a little bit of we can't get rid of the event with the Devourer, that would be horrible, people would hate us. So,
right.
Yeah.
Chat would like to know why you didn't lock the door.
That's a fair question. I ask myself that every day.
Yeah. Okay.
Did we end up cutting both mid-events? I think I had one mid-event, and then I think one of the other people we were talking to took both off, and so I think maybe maybe my initial list got rid of you can't cut this event. The idea is a prime number.
I mean, how would you know?
That's why we couldn't cut, events 57.
All right.
Anyway.
Let's move on to today's questions. Looks like the first question out of the gate here is from Library of Akasha, asking, how often do you two watch Tyradax videos?
Tyradax?
Is it Tyradax? See, this shows how much. I quite agree with the things he said about Dirge. Human race feat, barbarian, or fighter class feat would be cool to have access to all, but would be way too many feats.
Yeah, so the team here watches Tyradax videos pretty much as soon as they come out. I know I always get a summary of them in our community channel. I haven't seen specifically his one about the Dark Urge, so I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I think there are a lot of people who want the Dark Urge to work in a lot of other different situations, and also to work with like Will and the folk hero stuff with max stacks there, 4 stacks. So we've got some ideas on how to make that work. I don't know that we need specifically a whole boatload of feats for it. So stay tuned. We'll see.
Okay. Next question. This is from Fewer Pills. Would it be possible to add event tier progress to the collection? I would love to see how many tiers I completed on every champ and see my total progress.
Yes. It would be very possible to do that. That is 100% the plan. So when we were initially putting together the collections dialogue, it was actually before we came up with the events V2 plan. So initially there was like an event dialogue or an event panel in the collections dialogue, the mythical 13th panel that Wilson implemented and then we cut.
13th panel?
Yeah, I think there's 12 of them.
Is it some sort of Battlestar Galactica reference?
Yeah. Anyway, so I think doing a proper Events 2.0 panel or integrating that directly into the champion panel, or both, I think those are very likely in the future.
First one, then the other. Okay, next question here is from Garwar. Can we get a glitch nerd skin where they count as a human, but they're just 3 nerds in a trench coat? Are you legally even allowed to make skins for nerds?
So I don't know if we're able to make skins for that champion.
I don't know how that worked on a licensing basis.
I don't know. It's a really interesting question. I don't know if we can do skins for nerds. I can certainly ask about it and see. Because I know it was we got the champion into the game. Into the game as because D&D did, like Wizards did a cross promotion with nerds, and we were able to kind of hitch our cart onto that. No pun intended. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we're still allowed to kind of mess around with that.
I don't know either.
I'll have to ask.
Okay. I mean, I assume at this point, if we hadn't done any skins for them, there might be a reason.
Yeah, or they're just like, they're not, I mean.
They're not the most, the
fact that they're like a meta champion at this point with Artemis and other stuff,
right.
Notwithstanding, Nerds was never really intended to be like a high usage champion. They were a promotional champion.
The moment I said it, I knew it. I knew the mistake I had made.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we made them too good. I don't know how that happened, but apparently we should just not make meme champions.
Well, you could nerf them. Next question, let's move on, is from Fewer Pills. Can we get a blessing / some sort of damage bonus for each area completed event tier that you've done?
I feel like the word area from.
Did I add that?
Yeah.
Wow. I read good. Right. Let's try again.
Let's try.
Can we get a blessing / some sort of damage bonus for each completed event tier that you've done? I feel like there should be an incentive aside from non-permanent buff and chests for champs that you may even already have full epic.
So yes, I think this is something we could definitely do down the road. It sounds like a good opportunity for a blessing. There is going to be, I believe, soonish. I think we've actually maybe already done the tech. I'm not sure. An update for Strongheart to make him have some bonuses for how well you're doing in events, similar to how he had bonuses for how well you're doing in seasons. I think there's also a couple of blessings that we are changing to have bonuses based on event progress instead of event progress, and I think collection progress. That was the other thing that we designed. So yeah, some of those are coming. The real Bunny Beast wants to know who's knocking on the door. Who is knocking on the door, Dave? Can you tell the people about that knocking sound that they're hearing in the background? That's
the granite countertop storage behind us. Mm-hmm. They've got giant racks of granite, which could come through the wall at any moment. It just makes us super nervous when they're moving it around.
Yeah, it's very loud and very annoying, and it does shake everything in this office. So if we are kind of shaking and there's lots of noise, it's because it's the fire marshal. The fire marshal's doing a crossover with the Kool-Aid Man, and he's about to burst through the wall.
Well,
oh yeah, refill your fire extinguishers regularly.
Good advice. Okay, next question. This is from Dice42. Can you put in a way to show what Azaka's self-buff, Taste for Blood, is doing? It currently has item support, but no way to see how many stacks it has, the buff value, or even if the buff is pre-stack or post-stack.
Yes, so that is a very good question. The reason I highlighted this one just to kind of plug the fact that we are looking at doing a champion profile dialogue rework. And as part of that, we will be trying to make sure that every single effect that is affecting,
Affecting? Doesn't something get affected and that causes an effect?
Okay, so every single effect
Don't
that
ask
is
me that.
affecting a champion. I swear I figured this out 15 years ago, and I can't remember it still. Will try and show up there. So we want to make sure that the new profile dialog will show incoming blessings and perks. Self buffs like this would want to show up there. Buffs from weekend promos and weekly parties and event buffs and all that stuff, so that you can really get a proper sense of everything that is affecting a champion. And hopefully when we do that, that will address questions like this, because anything that doesn't show up there will not be affecting them. Or the opposite of that would be a more useful way of saying that. Anything that shows up there
is affecting them?
Anything that is affecting them shows up there. There we go. Third time's the charm. Whew.
Okay, you made it. To the next question.
Made it 21 minutes in, and now I'm out of energy.
Next question here is from Garwar, asking, the Start Strong Blessing gives us 2,500 tokens per event. With 5 fewer events now and unspent tokens rolling over to future events, can we get this blessing upped by 1,000 or so to make up for the lost potential here?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. There is a little bit of lost potential there, but also with adventures not costing tokens anymore, the blessing itself doesn't super make sense. The idea of the blessing was to give you enough tokens to start doing the first couple adventures without needing to wait for your tokens to build up or without having to spend bounty contracts. So the use case for it has kind of changed. And now it's basically just 1/3 of another chest drop. So it's definitely a different kind of effect, and it's probably something that at some point we'll have to reevaluate and see whether or not it still makes sense to just award extra tokens, or have some other bonus there that makes sense. Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll have to look at that.
Sorry.
You scrolled down?
Oh, yeah, I'm looking for questions.
Were you not sensing that I was wrapping up my answer to that question?
I just wanted an awkward silence for the, Next question. This is also from Garwar, asking, will the alchemy system have some way to convert extra potions of polish into something useful for those, add that inflection, into something useful for those players who have supported the game consistently and literally aren't able to use their extra pops?
Yes, that is something that's on the list for the design of the apothecary notary system.
Yes.
Some way to convert potions of polish to something more useful. Some way to maybe convert the legendary potions to something more useful.
10 potions of polish into a super potion of polish, which makes an item super shiny.
Super shiny.
Super shiny.
What is the super shiny build
it
level?
makes the card actually really shiny.
Doesn't actually change.
But it doesn't
the power.
change the stats.
Oh, okay.
It's just a visual effect.
Yeah.
Okay. No.
Thank you, developer/designer David.
Oh, just having fun with it.
Oh my gosh, this next one is blue. Did I make this one?
I think you must have. You shot down here and highlighted everything at the beginning.
This question is also from Garwar, who asks, is there any way to make the game's icon blink on your taskbar and pull priority when you complete an adventure or variant? It would be nice to know when a run is complete so we can start a new one, especially with all the new event variant tiers to climb.
Yeah, sorry, before I answer that, I just saw in the chat, they wanted holographic cards. I think, we could get one, you just sort of shift it back and forth, you know, you can see a different, that'd be pretty cool, yeah. As to the question about making that game's icon blink, I imagine there probably is a way to do that. It feels like something that, something we would definitely want to turn on or off as a setting, because I think that would be annoying if you didn't intend to see that. but I think it should be possible to do something like that. I mean, I've seen other applications do that, so I assume we have access to that, whatever functionality causes that. I'm going to ask Peter to take a look. I'm going to tag that. Okay. Next question. This is from Dice42. And actually, I'm going to point out I did see Dice42's prior question, which you're not answering, but I did like his form in as a captain's log. Anyway, this question starts off with, the loss of value provided by the removal of the season's pass has left me somewhat uninterested in the current event packs. Is there any plan to bring back some things of similar value as the season pass for those of us who want to spend a little money on the game, but not a lot of money?
Yeah, this is a really good question. I think this goes to kind of some of the issues that we had with the seasons as they existed. Was that there was too much value in the season pass. $10 for, I mean, roughly, if those have been in other DLC packs, I think it's something like $150 worth of content. Was very generous, and folks loved it, of course, and we sold a lot of season passes, but at the expense of pretty much everything else in the game. And so I think in terms of, are we going to have something else that has a similar value to the season pass? I don't think that's a direction that we're going to go. We always want to try and have value for players who buy and support the game, and so trying to find the right balance of that value is something that's really important. And I think the season pass went a little too far in the direction of just giving so much stuff that
yeah, I mean,
just wasn't good.
And the season pass sort of, I know initially when we had designed what was in the pass. The idea that, well, it's also something that you unlock and you earn through that. Mm-hmm. But it turned out to be something that, that was something that the average pass holder was going to get. Yeah. And so it just had this knock-on effect of having an enormous amount of value, and then it made the other items, like in comparison, just actually not seem like you were getting your money's worth. Yeah. So I don't think we'd go for something quite of that value again.
Yeah, but I mean, I think with sales and with with other sales and new DLC and launch discounts and bundling and stuff, I think we're still trying to deliver value, just not that much. Not that much.
And not on that very, very set cadence, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Sort of another problem with that. So.
Yeah.
Next question. This is from, how do you say this? Kretos.
Sure.
I think. I'm going with Kretos0. And they ask, I like the game a lot. I've been playing for 2 years on Android, but now I can't really play. I can't farm or play online and offline anymore because the game crashes all the time. When are you going to solve this problem? I'm not the only one who has this problem.
Yeah.
Or am I not the only one that has this problem?
You are not the only one who has this problem. This problem exists on several platforms, not just Android. It's also there's definitely some crashing issues going on iOS as well, and on the consoles as well, PlayStation and Xbox. And these are things that are a priority for us, trying to figure out what is happening there and fixing. Generally, I think there's memory leaks going on that just cause the OS to just
that's sort of the number one sort of cause of a crash is a memory issue.
Yeah, I think periodically we try and do sort of memory analysis to make sure that we're tracking down any of the major leaks. One thing that does help us here is if you open a ticket and sort of send along the formations that you're using in your parties, because oftentimes these issues will be tied to specific champions or specific abilities or specific variants. Bosses.
Almost always this stuff is tied to a specific element of one type or another, because it's one of those things where because we're adding new content and new features on such a regular cadence that when we do so, we inevitably end up adding new bugs and new leaks, and so while we go through on a regular cadence and actually look and find and solve these things, then new contents, new characters, new variants get released, and that ends up adding new issues. So, and then of course, if we don't have the formation that you're using, it's difficult to track down exactly what's happening. Now, one thing to know, when you do open a ticket, we do make a snapshot of your account at that time so that we can actually load that up and see what's going on. So if you have a formation that's regularly causing crashes and you open a ticket and say, hey, this formation on my account right now is one causing me to crash, then we'll have that and someone can run a profile on it. Now, all that said, I know Jarrett has been hard at work on doing profiling for memory usage for the last, well, basically all of this week. And he's continuing to look for performance improvements and anything that's allocating memory that it shouldn't be. And I know he's pretty satisfied at this point that he's come across and fixed a number of cases where things were just allocating more than they should or more frequently than they should. Primarily, he's got an eye for what's for performance right now, but a pass is underway. And so hopefully that's going to have an impact because it not only makes the game run faster, but also reduces the amount of memory that it's using. Anyway, yeah, so if you have a formation that is, on the regular crashing, definitely submit a ticket and let us know that the formation that you currently have active is one that's been crashing, and we can profile that. Okie dokie. Next question. This is Randram asking, can we have a time frame for the 70 out of 111 champ with at least one time gate opened? We were promised.
Yeah, so I think this is referring to we want to make some of the displays in the collections dialog purely informational and not count toward any sort of progress, so that you can 100% things that would otherwise be super tedious, just dumb, like having to open at least one time gate for every single champion in order to 100% the collections dialog. So yes. I don't have a specific time frame for you, but it is high on my priority list to finish my sort of sweep through the collections dialog on live and capture all of these things to be assigned to a developer to update and fix. We do want, the intention of the collections dialog is that if you are done the game, essentially, you should be able to 100% that without doing tedious, dumb things like getting a piece of legendary gear in every slot on every champion or opening a time gate for every single champion, because those things are just tedious and don't actually progress you towards finishing the game.
All right.
It is time.
Time? We're done already?
It is time for our
Oh.
world famous weekly giveaway of 42 chests. Now, Dave, I'm not sure if you've watched the stream before, but the way this works is...
I haven't.
I've never actually watched the stream either. But the way this works is in chat, there will very shortly be a keyword. All you have to do is copy and paste that keyword back into chat, from chat back into chat, and you will be entered into a draw to win 42 chests of your choice. It can be any type of chest that exists in the game. I'm just looking at your screen. I shouldn't be. So you can choose any type of chest that exists in the game except for Gloria Bahamut chests if you win. You can't just... Anyway, so you can do Modron component chests. That's my favorite. You can just do regular gold chests if that's what you want. You can get some of the old season chests, I guess, if you want. You can get some season 5 chests if you really like the season 5 champions. Sure, why not?
All right.
You could get a really obscure weekend promo chest. You could get one of the very first weekend promo chests in the game if you can remember the name of it and ask the mod for it when you
That's why you should have kept one of every chest in your inventory,
exactly,
so you can remember.
You can scroll up to the top and see the lowest ID one.
Yeah.
What other types of chests do you think there could be?
I mean, I think we can get some insulated chests, or how about an acoustic chest? Maybe we can get a tinted chest. Or a tempered chest. I think we might be able to get a chromatic chest. Yeah? How about a stained chest? Here's actually a really important one. Shatterproof chest. Because I think if your chest shatters, the contents inside are...
I think Pi Lovin got it first with glass.
Types of
beating
glass.
out a bunch of people. Very, 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 very close there.
Types of words.
Types of words. No, it's like today's connections, where it's like
three-letter unrelated words.
three-letter unrelated word. We all in the office figured that the purple connection was they're just unrelated words that are left over at the end of doing the other three categories.
Very upsetting.
Yeah.
I'll find out who makes those puzzles and send them a sternly worded
New York Times
email or something.
but
Send
yeah.
letters.
A letter to the editor, I think, is what you do. Anyway. Good luck to everyone on that giveaway. We will stop talking about types of glass and New York Times puzzles.
Okay, where were we? Next question. This one here is from OG17 and would like to know, event DPS all buffs act like always on season buffs and don't require their characters to be in formation. Uh-oh. This was not the design. If this isn't changing for the event, can Cthulhu's Goldfind event buff be made to work the same way? As it's not tied to an ability, I expect it to always be active and function as a medium/small gold potion. Instead, it requires him to be in formation, and I burned out an event slot. Doesn't make sense. These two buff types are. Doesn't make sense that these two buff types are different.
Yes, that is a very good point, OG17. The fact that the global DPS buffs act like always on season buffs is a bug. They are not supposed to act that way. They are supposed to only be active if the champion is in the formation. So that is something that we will have to look at.
Yeah. And that's sticking around post-season 2 for how long?
Post events.
Yeah, sorry.
Now
I'm doing it.
The buffs stick around for 60 days from the start of the event in which you get them.
Right. So
one more event. Sometimes in really weird circumstances, you might be able to get 3 rounds of event buffs going all at once for a couple of champions. But yeah, generally you can have like 10 event buffs, 12, I guess, if you have the supporter slots active at once.
Right. So for clarity on fixing this, are we going to leave this one for the the full time duration, and then future buffs that are acting like this for event buffs will not do that? Or are we going to fix this?
I think it would probably get fixed in flight. Yeah, I don't think there's a really clean or clever way to only fix it for some buffs. We'd have to make
a second buff.
Yeah, we'd have to make a different type of global DPS effect and change that. So yeah, unfortunately, that is indeed a bug.
Okay. Next question. This is from OG17 as well. Collections campaign screen only shows standard campaigns. Can this be filled in with event and trial campaigns so that all that dialogue could be viewed? Variant exclusive dialogue could also be included, like just with the adventure listed twice as a variant.
Yeah. So there's multiple parts to this question here. I think having the event dialogue visible somewhere, I think is pretty, I think we can probably find a place for that. It might not be in collections in the campaign screen directly, maybe that's more in the hero screen, since they're kind of tied to their event in there. Unfortunately, it doesn't make sense to do that through the events, like if we did an events panel, because some champions have adventures that are not from the surviving events, and so their dialogue needs to be somewhere. But I think, yeah, trying to find places to put all this stuff, I think, makes sense. It's just a matter of sort of thinking cleverly about where that could go. The next question here is from T5 Cats, and it is for you. And he would like to know when players are going to get the ability to skip areas by 100 at a time.
It is on...
Not like skip, like Briv skip, but
jump ahead.
Jump ahead or jump backwards.
Yeah. So there were four sort of major major. I don't know, not all major. 4 more significant dialogue style reworks that I have put onto the list that I was speaking with Peter about, finding time to work on now that we have a little more developer time available. And one of them is the area navigation control that I've mentioned previously on stream, which would be something that'd be a little bit more sophisticated for jumping around areas. Which would include something like, jumping ahead 50, 100, typing in a number that you want to go to perhaps. I'm not 100% sure what all of it would contain, but I think it would be just something that had a bunch of different options to make navigating larger distances forward or backwards a lot easier. So that is on the list amongst a handful of other slightly heavier lifts than the average item that we've been working on, but the other items on the list are all things people have asked for as well. So, yeah, like an inventory you can sort.
Yep.
Okay, next question. This is from OG17. Can there be a notice when something is added to the gem shop? Players have no reason to go to this screen, and additions are not always announced. I didn't see the Shadowheart skin until Monday.
Yeah, that's a good question. I imagine we probably can do this. I know we have the tech to show like when new DLC is released or when it's put on sale, we can highlight it there. So we might be able to do that with gem skins. I'm not 100% sure if it's just by like premium item ID on that dialogue or whether it's kind of by some sort of shop. Unique shop ID of some sort, but I can ask about this and see if Peter has any idea whether or not this could be done.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would be a bit more of a heavy lift.
Yeah, I mean something that's sort of an automatic, like recently added items could potentially be a thing. And obviously you're sort of hesitant to suggest we do something where we're manually making sure that their announcements go in with each release.
Yeah, well, I think we manually set up which ones get featured. Or maybe we don't. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how automatic or manual that system is. I'm a little bit arm's length from the implementation of the shop.
Yeah.
We can ask about it, though.
Okay. Next question. This is from T5 Cats. Why are the abilities of items shown in the Forge? They have nothing to do with legendary items. All they do is force you to sit there while the display slowly scrolls down to the information you're trying to see.
Yeah, I hear you. We will make that scroll slower. Is that what they were getting at?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
That makes,
yeah. No, I mean that's a good point. I think we've talked about.
We should make it so that it waits a random amount of time. And then switches to the next sort of full page worth, and somewhere between like 10 and 50 seconds.
Wow, 10
and 50.
You were going to say 10 and 15,
I was.
and then you made it worse. Yeah, no, I mean I think that's a good point. I think so. I mean the reason it shows in the Forge is because I don't think we have a parameter to like not show the base effect on a card. I think we just kind of a card is a card, kind of wherever we show it. It sounds like something we could do. Because it is like it's a decent point that it doesn't really have any relevance to the legendary effect when you're actually in the Forge itself.
I agree.
Obviously, it has an effect when you're outside of the Forge, and you may want to know what the equipment item does.
Yeah, there should be a flag on that.
Yeah.
At the very least, to flip the order so you can see that information first. I think that's Yeah, I know
we've talked in the show before about when we were adding the legendary effect to the cards about how.
There's not enough space on the card.
We played with a couple of different ideas.
You can flip the card over and get more details, and flip it again and get it's like this sort of strange three-sided card. Yeah, we tried a bunch of different things.
Oh my gosh, the scrolling is one that kind of it wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst, and so it kind of
it was a compromise.
It was a compromise, but I think that removing the effects. Probably isn't a bad idea for making that a little bit easier to use.
Yeah, you can take a look. Like I say, I think even just flipping the order might be,
yeah,
it's still there.
Yeah, but then it'll scroll away. and slowly scroll back.
And then they'll want to see the scrolling slowly so they have enough time to read it.
Can you just slow down the scrolling so it doesn't scroll away as fast?
Oh, okay. Next question. This is from Raphael 903040. No, 9340. 90,340.
90340. It's a Beverly Hills reference.
Is it?
I don't know. This is their zip code.
Yeah, I guess.
We've just doxed Raphael. Sorry.
Right. Well, anyway, they ask, what was the champion that the team had the most fun while designing and testing?
So I have an answer for this, at least for designing. And it looks like Mars has an answer here as well.
The answer is the most recent one.
So my answer, I think the most fun we had kind of designing a champion, I think was, or the champion that was kind of the most serendipitous and then kind of the most fun to play with, I think was Human. I think Human kind of popped up out of nowhere. I can't remember if we saw I think we got I can't remember exactly where that champion came from. It's like a book release or like a live stream. Was it a live stream? Like a Wizards live stream that did it? Anyway, they popped up somewhere and...
because Human was our name, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because it was, I remember when we were coming up with that, I was looking at the Futurama.
Yes, it's a CNE original.
Yeah.
And yeah, Gar was saying it was a reference in one of the books. And I think as soon as we found that reference, we were like, we need to do that. That's so much fun. And so just putting together that champion and just the idea of having 3 kobolds in a trench coat pretending to be human, I think was a lot of fun. And then we also happened to make them a super OP speed champion, so that was fun too.
Whoops.
The comment here from Mars, it says, as far as my testing goes, Redacted was a blast, especially since several of my own ideas ended up in his final design. So Redacted being the next champion who's going to come out. I don't think we've done a champion spotlight or anything for them yet. So it's the one that comes out in April with the final Greengrass event. So that one was Mars's favorite one to test. And that is, that champion's got a lot of fun stuff in him, in them.
It's too late now, Justin.
In that champion.
That's right. Okay. Next question. This is from Randram, and they would like to know 5% Waterdeep achievement reminder.
I think I was surprised it didn't pop up in the list of things, fixes that Peter did for you, because he was asking me about this yesterday. So I'm pretty sure that this one is coming, pretty soon. I'm pretty sure. Don't hold me to that, but Peter and I were talking about the number of adventures and variants in various campaigns yesterday with regards to Tomb having a certain number and then Waterdeep having a certain number. And then kind of after, so Tomb I think had 8 sets of adventures, with each set having 2 adventures and then 3 variants in each of the adventures. So it had whatever that is, 16 times 4 total kind of adventures in it. And then in Waterdeep we had 10 sets of 2, but the last set only had 1 adventure. And then every campaign since then has had 10 sets of 2 complete. So 80 adventures total. But Waterdeep had 76 for some reason. Anyway. That is, I'm pretty sure that's coming soon. Very soon. Actual soon. Not
Not steamed soon? Yeah. Valve time. Okay.
Yeah.
Next question. This is from Weffen. And Weffen would like to know, can you please increase the number of bounty contracts that can be redeemed, or can you fast track the notary for contract conversions? After going through large and mediums and smalls, they take so long to redeem.
I think this is something
this is on the list.
It's on the list. I think there's some implementation issues that are slowing it down.
It's all of those goobers that can.
No, I think it's not even the goobers. There's
totally the goobers.
There's a server side aspect to it too, where it when it uses bounty contracts, it includes 1 buff used entry for each contract.
Oh, that's
so
not
the
good
save
either.
call gets to a ridiculous size
Huh.
and then doesn't post properly.
I know Peter took a swing at this like a couple of months ago when it
Yeah.
had come up, and I thought he ran into it like a front end side issue too.
I think there's both.
Right.
So
okay.
it's not just a simple thing about changing the number like we did for like chess and whatnot. There's actually some technical
Okay,
debt
so there's
there
a
that
couple
we have
of pieces
to
to
address.
fix. Yeah. But it is on the list.
It is on the list. Yeah.
I know it moved from the freebie list though to the not freebie list. So this is the moved up into the more difficult tier.
Yes. Unfortunately.
But it is on the list and it will get done soon, TM.
yeah.
Okay. Next question. This is from Offerlam113. Will variants be changed when they are hard to achieve on tier? Will variants be changed when they are hard to achieve on tier 4?
So this is a good question. It's like if we have variants on in the new event system that are hard, like very hard, but potentially achievable with enough legendaries or other sources of power or new champions, will we change them? I think in extreme cases we probably could.
Sources of power. Are these
But,
redacted sources of power?
Yes, potentially the champion from the next event.
Mm.
But I think that for the most part, we do want there to be adventures in the game that are really, really challenging. That's kind of one of the purposes of the tiers in Events 2.0 was to have really hard content that people need to work for again. Because prior to this, especially in seasons, there wasn't really any hard content that took a lot of power. Like you got a lot of power from playing seasons, but you didn't need that power for anything. So I think having variants that are really hard to achieve is not necessarily a bad thing. I do think there is a limit to how hard they can be, and if they are like just utterly impossible, then we will try and rebalance them so that they are within the realm of possibility.
Do you have the power of Grayskull, Justin? Is that the power we need?
I do not have the power of Grayskull, unfortunately. But yeah, so I think the answer to this is yes/no asterisks. I mean, when they're completely unfathomable, then yes. And we try to do that before stuff launches. We try to do that testing before stuff launches. If they're completely out of whack, we'll make a change. And if we are not out of whack, but they're just really, really hard and you need a lot of power for them, then we might just let them sit.
Okay. Let's see.
Oh, you
didn't like this
here.
question, Justin? It was a
I like every question that gets asked. I just don't highlight every question.
I see. Well, let's just move on then. Next question here is from Cully, asking, would it be possible to add to Modrons a reset at X amount of Briv stacks? This would be a huge quality of life change for us non-scripters.
Yeah, so we've talked kind of in the past about adding additional Modron reset options.
Yep.
And there's kind of a balance between which ones kind of make sense for a bunch of people and which ones are more niche. I could see putting something like this in sort of an advanced mode of the reset thing. I wouldn't want to have this be like a default option on the default screen.
Yeah.
Because you get into a situation where like a newer player opens up the Modron screen for the first time and they've got like a bunch of options that they just don't understand. We want to try and keep that as simple as possible at initially because it's already somewhat complicated, fairly complicated. So I think that I could see maybe doing something like this as a advanced option. And there's some other options that I've seen suggested, like reset upon wipe, or reset after a certain amount of time, or reset after you reach a certain favor multiplier, or stuff like that.
Yeah, this always makes me go to like that idea of like having a little scripting system in there where you set your own parameters, or you have our own node-based thing. You drag out champion, branch, if.
Yeah, you've been using
ability name.
You've been using too much Unreal, Ed, my friend.
Dear Lord.
But yeah, I mean, I could see doing something like this an advanced mode for the dialogue. Same thing with kind of, we want to update how you use potions on there. I could see this sort of potion loadout thing being more of an advanced Modron dialogue system.
Nice. Yeah, working in if you've got more than this number of that potion, then prioritize using this potion. It'd be perfect.
All right.
Plus, we teach people how to program.
Okay. Dave's going to work on a node thing for you guys. You heard it here first. The Dave guarantee.
Jared, I'll get Jared to do it. Jared would love that.
Oh, Jared would love that.
Okay, next question. This is from T2Z7. Is there a possibility of availability of upcoming event champions in time gates? For example, I want to unlock Gazric for some time this month, but he is in the next event, so can't be chosen in time gates right now.
Yeah, so we do an automatic event lockout or an automatic time gate lockout for champions who are coming up soon in events. And the reason we do this is
we don't want you to shoot yourself in the foot.
We don't want people to pay 6 time gate pieces to unlock a champion, and then like a week later, you can unlock that champion for free with an event. It is a little bit awkward now with Events 2.0, where we do lock out all flex champions as well as any reworked champions that are coming up, and so it's a little bit awkward because you can't necessarily unlock them in the event. So it might be something that we'll have to rethink. It would
maybe just a warning on them, you know.
Yeah, maybe just a warning. It'd be super awkward if you chose them as your flex slot champion and then also unlocked a time gate at the same time, or unlocked a time gate and then the next day chose them as your flex slot champion, and then there'd be just a lot of awkwardness in sort of which of those takes priority and whatnot. So we still need some sort of limits on that. But it's probably something to kind of reevaluate at the same time that we start to think about sort of time gates V2 to complement events V2.
Yeah. Okay. I think we probably have time for one more question. This one is from Emote. Could we have a circle on the collections equipment dialog which tracks the number of gilded items and make it and legendary count informational only, please?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do think that is probably something we can do, probably something that sort of tracks, gilded items, so shiny or golden items. It makes sense. There's certainly, you can at least shiny every single equipment item in the game.
But can you super shiny them?
Not yet, but Dave's working on it.
Holographic super shiny.
Holographic. Can you holograph every card? And obviously gilded equipment is a little bit more restricted, or not gilded, golden equipment's a little bit more restricted, so you can't golden every single item in the game. But yeah, if it was tracking gilded, you could certainly 100% that bar. So I mean that sounds like something we could put in on the equipment dialogue, or equipment, not the equipment dialogue, the equipment
collection
panel thing.
Okay.
Anyway.
It's an official title.
Yeah. Equipment panel collection thing.
The equipment panel collection thing.
That's what we call it internally.
All right. And on that, I think that is all the time we have.
Indeed. If we didn't get to your question this week, don't fret. You will have another opportunity. We'll be live again, hopefully, at this same time next week, assuming my house doesn't get overrun by the plague again.
Put you back in a box.
But before we sign off, we'd like to thank our tireless mods. This week, I believe it was Mars and Gabe again, though I haven't scrolled up to the top of my document to verify that. Here I go. Yes, indeed. They are the folks who copy your questions into our questions doc and make things awesome in chat. So thanks to both of you.
And of course, thanks to all of you for hanging out, watching the stream, enjoying the game, and for asking such great questions. Because without you, no one here gets to do what we do.
And we like what we do.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Oh man, Justin, did you hear about the beaver that was put on trial for blocking a river?
I have not.
Yeah, he pleaded innocent, but the evidence was damning.